Hey guys, tonight is a bit of a different night. I'm going to be covering a few different subjects in this one video, mainly because I feel the need to get some things off my chest. I'm likely going to incorporate a reading into this in some way. I'll start pulling things when I feel the pull to do so. But I wanted to start off with an update regarding the Jen Luvs Reviews video that I had made. Jen did reach out to me privately and we did compare information back and forth, and she had reached out to 3 people in the field. Now I want to start this off with malachite is not something that is normally used in the cosmetic industry. There are very few brands, very few products that actually use this product. So as of right now, it is listed as something that's safe. However, the information that she sent me had malachite listed as a liquid. So it's entirely possible that the malachite has been treated in some way to make it safer to handle. It is entirely possible that because this crystal is so rarely used in the cosmetic industry, if anyone were to have any sort of reaction or illness derived from the ingestion or inhalation of malachite because of its heavy metals in it, it wouldn't be as easy to trace. I did find one website stating that the specific metal, the specific form of copper, which is copper carbonate in malachite, is safe. However, the website that I found this information on very much listed at the bottom of the page, and I'll list the link down in the comments below. I would screenshot and do all that kind of stuff here, but I have a lot to get through tonight. I just need to unload. It did list that there is a gap in the research regarding its safety. I am going to give my gut reaction here. Currently, the industry considers it a safe product. I don't think Jen is going to remove her recommendation of it. I don't see La Mer removing it from their product. I don't see the other brands that have malachite as an ingredient removing it from their products either. My gut is telling me, it's screaming at me, not to use it. Not to use the products with malachite. I just have this very, very strong feeling that, be it 10, 15, 20 years from now, we may hear something about it, but it's not going to be anytime soon because there's not as many people using these products right now. And because of that, it's going to be less likely to be able to be traced. I don't know what form these companies are using malachite in. I don't know if it's in powder form. I don't know if it's in liquid form. These are all industrial trade secrets that I'm not going to be privy to, especially as somebody who's got a very small following and not really much clout in this industry at all. However, I do know that especially if these products are being used in a milled powder form, that the inhalation and ingestion of it is toxic. In the United States, copper carbonate in the form of malachite is listed as a hazardous material. Places need special licenses in order to procure it and handle it. So I don't know the form, I don't know how it's being incorporated into the products, but I am saying, as somebody who genuinely is just looking out for the health, safety, and well-being of people, please don't use them. I just have a sinking feeling in the pit of my stomach that I can't ignore, and it's partially why I've been talking about this for so long. And while I hope people will be safe, I hope people will be healthy, I hope that nothing will happen, I just have this bad feeling something's going to. And I don't want to see that happen. I spoke up. Jen and I talked back and forth. I haven't heard from her recently. Granted, in fairness, I haven't reached out to her recently either. She's been focusing on other content, so I didn't really want to bother her. So I wanted to put that right out there. That, you know, it's not just, I haven't heard from her. Well, I haven't reached out to her either. So I'm being fully transparent with that. I just have to advise people strongly based off of what my intuition is telling me and what I know of this crystal and what I know of its hazardous effects. So there's part one. Part two, Metamorphosis Rocks made a request in the last video that I did doing a peace candle, saying her friend wanted a love spell, which I can do to a degree, but I wanted to briefly take a moment to put a little disclaimer on things. No matter what the spell, no matter what kind of magical practice you do, you cannot violate a person's free will. Forcing somebody to give you attention, trying to force somebody to have affection for you isn't something that is generally looked on favorably. You know, it's one of those things where, and I'm not bashing anyone in this, it's one of those things that many people, especially when people are first getting into magical practice, they may not be aware that even in magical practice you have a set of ethics and a set of code that many practitioners adhere to. Not all, every practitioner is different, not everybody believes in karma, not everybody adheres to the Wiccan read or the mentality of the threefold law. Not everybody believes that what you put out there will come back to you. But in general, even those who don't generally adhere to a certain code or a certain mentality that attempting to violate someone's free will is a big no-no. It's a taboo. So when I go ahead and do that candle, I will take it from the standpoint of trying to end the hot and coldness and just allow her friend to have a definitive view of whether or not this person is genuinely interested in her or not. It'll probably be more along the lines of a reveal the truth kind of ritual. And I wanted to address that here in case anybody saw that comment, in case Rox is watching. Hi. I will address that request in a different kind of way. It may not be the way that her friend was thinking, but there's only so far that you should go magically, and there's certain lines that you shouldn't cross. And one of them is manipulation or trying to impede someone's free will. So I'm not saying that her friend, that was specifically what she's looking for or looking to do. I'm just putting that out there so that that is a disclaimer on anything that you do. Things like peace candles, things like any of the rituals that I've shown so far have not been such to manipulate people or manipulate their free will, but rather as more of a petition for help with certain circumstances. So I've said those two things, and now on to the thing that I really need to vent this, because I am so frustrated. I am so frustrated today. I can't even. I'm feeling a little knowledge deck. I don't know why. But it'll show up. It'll tell me why. In recent days, we've seen, and for those who generally come to my channel as an escape from this topic, you may not want to venture any further, but I just need to get it off my chest, because I did it on Facebook, but not on my page, on my personal page, but I need to get it out. We've been seeing local politicians opening the doors for certain things. Florida's governor has opened beaches, they say within limitations, but you don't see those limitations being enforced, such as social distancing, such as the limited hours, and for the certain purposes that they were supposed to be open for. And I'm not just frustrated with the politicians. Yes, I'm frustrated with the people who aren't adhering to these things, but mainly I'm frustrated for the residents of Florida who have been trying so hard and have been doing their part to maintain the social distancing, to maintain the self-quarantine, to do everything that they can to try to help flatten this curve. because they are going to be the ones who are going to be even more at risk because people are not doing what they should be doing. Now, there's something that many people, especially those who don't pay attention to the news, don't pay attention to history, don't really care about any of that stuff, may not know. This is not the first pandemic in the United States. I doubt even the one that I'm about to mention was the first one either, because when people came over here from Europe, they brought all sorts of diseases that Native Americans had no immunity to, and a lot of them got sick and wiped out. But back then we didn't have the science or the due diligence to monitor that kind of thing. But in 1918, we had another pandemic. It was the Spanish flu. And during that time, we saw a similar situation like we have now. People had to close things down. People had to distance themselves from one another. Granted, they didn't have all the science back then that they do now about, immunity and a whole lot of the information that we do today, or at least why science wasn't as advanced back then as it is today. But in that time frame, the government closed everything down for a little bit. The curve flattened and tapered back down. So the government went, okay, now it's safe to reopen everything and let everything return to normal. And what ended up happening was a second wave of the Spanish flu came through, and I believe, and I'll put corrected information here if I'm wrong, the Spanish flu ended up wiping out about 1 million people in the second wave of it, simply because things were opened too soon. Yeah. Adjustments are required. Yeah. So for anyone watching this, if you are maintaining and doing what you're supposed to do, keep doing it, okay? It says you and your loved ones are safe. It's a time for healing. Adjustments are required. I'm going to convey to anyone watching this, if you have land, if you have the capacity to do so, I encourage people to start planting crops. Don't go crazy. I don't think it's going to be too long. But plant some things. Plant some herbs, some vegetables, potatoes, tomatoes, maybe some fruit, things of that nature. Especially things that may be perennial or easily cultivated. Or if you can set up some sort of like greenhouse type situation, even if it's small within your home, just to plant a few things that you may want or need, I encourage you to do that. Because as of right now, we see a second effect that all of this is having. And that is a lot of food is going to waste. And I am not sure whether farms are going to be able to maintain trying to produce things with what's going on right now. So if you have the capacity, or if you know anyone nearby, encourage them, instead of tending their frickin' lawns, start planting crops. It doesn't have to be a lot, but even if they sell produce or whatnot to people at a low rate, like we have one neighbor here who she has done organic growing now for a while, and my mother just went down to buy some plants from her today. She was selling plants for $1 a piece. That kind of thing, it may be needed to help one another. Because keep in mind, the people who have the economic means, especially, I want you to please start doing this, because the people who don't have the economic means, the people who right now we're waiting to hear from the government whether or not there's going to be a second package accepted funding people $2,000 a month for, I think it's 6 months. So until we have information on that, there's people right now who are literally starving. There are people who cannot afford food. There are people who, if they can't afford food, they don't have access to it. A lot, not all, but many inner cities are food deserts. Now, if you've never heard that term before, that means that what access people in inner cities may have to food is extremely, extremely limited, and most of the time it's crap. They won't have access to fresh food or vegetables, fruit, the things that help keep people healthy and help their immune systems fight off any illness. These things are very important to help people's immune system. So if you have the financial capacity and you have the space, please start growing crops, because people are going to need it, and I don't know what kind of access people are going to have, at least for a bit, to produce because of what's currently going on. Your dreams need a practical plan, which is what I just said. Energy is gaining momentum. I have a bad feeling about that card. Why do I have a bad feeling about that card? The end of a tough cycle approaches. This card, I get the feeling like the virus is going to have that second increase. It may not be nationwide. I get the feeling that we'll see it more in areas where the politicians are stupid enough to go, but the economy, and open things up to free reign before they should be. As soon as I drew that card, the pit of my stomach just dropped out. I get the energy is gaining momentum. I get the feeling has more to do with the virus. If you're in areas where the politicians and the government that's there is being more proactive and being more cautious about reopening things, or they are consulting with experts, they are taking a very slow, cautious approach, I get the feeling that these areas are going to be more successful at flattening the curve and seeing a decline and keeping that decline. But the areas like Florida, I see it's going to be a spike. The areas that are not being cautious, the areas that have not enacted some sort of plan, we're gonna see a lot of loss. I see it and I feel it, and I wish I didn't. The end of a tough cycle approaches. Things are eventually going to come back down and restabilize, but I think it's going to take that second spike for those government officials in those areas to literally get their heads out of their asses. And take it seriously. Because here's the problem. Here's what so many people are... A lot of people are saying, but the economy, you know, it's affecting people's mental health. It's causing people to self-harm. I don't want to say the word in case it's a trigger. It's causing a lot of things, starvation, unemployment, a drain on the economy, and yes, we will likely go into a recession. I don't know if it's going to go into an extreme depression, but we are going into a recession, which is also why that produce and the fruits and the vegetables and all that kind of stuff is going to be necessary, not just to sustain your own family, but to help give you food in a gap period where businesses like farming industry and farmers and all of that kind of thing are going to need that time to rebuild and start back up again. So having that food locally and for yourselves and helping one another is going to help you fill that gap of time. I hope that makes sense. And allow people to have access to healthy, fresh food during this. I don't see it going to as severe a depression as people are afraid of, but there is going to be a recession that is going to happen. It's going to take time for people to get back on their feet. It's going to take time for industries to rebuild and come back through, and working and striving to be a little bit more self-sustaining right now and relying more upon local farming industries instead of what you get in the grocery store. Look up where you have local farms. Support the hell out of them right now. If you are able to go to them, or if you are able to call them and ask them how things are going, what they have, support them, because they're going to need it right now. And by giving them local dollars and keeping them running and giving them that financial stability will ensure that local produce is still being able to be produced. But keep in mind, they can only also do so much. So plant a garden, plant these foods to help give you something in the meantime while the bigger farming industry rebuilds and comes back up. You see, what do you need to release? Also keep on during this time working on your shadow work, your healing, focusing on the things that no longer serve you, and figuring out that when things are better, to let it go and move on. Emotions are running high, yep. Back to what I was saying. Right now, I've been seeing a lot of people saying, well, it's a 97% survival rate. The only reason why it's a 97% survival rate is because we are taking precautions right now. I need you to understand this. A lot of the people who are saying, well, we need to reopen the economy and everything, these are not people with any sort of medical knowledge. These are not people who have any sort of insight into the medical industry and how viruses work. These are people who are worried more about the money aspect, which, yes, it does have cause and effect, and yes, it does impact our day-to-day world. Yes, it does impact people's ability to survive and thrive. And yes, it does impact industries such as farming and such, which are being affected by this. Yes to all of that. However, you cannot communicate with a virus. You can't compromise with a virus. The people who are comparing this situation to the Great Depression are literally comparing a tomato to a lemon. They both may be fruit, but they are vastly different species. The Great Depression was caused by Wall Street, was caused by things bottoming out in the financial corporate world. And it affected banking, it affected jobs, it affected people being able to fund things because it was the banks. So, yes, the Great Depression happened, but it is not the same as this situation. This situation is caused by something that we cannot control. We cannot communicate with it. We cannot talk to it. We cannot say, hey, would you mind slowing down a bit because you're really screwing up our economy. It doesn't care. It doesn't care. This is a universally killing virus. If society goes back to normal situation, the cases are going to go through the roof, and we are going to have a universal catastrophic effect, not just in the amount of cases that are increasing, but we will literally see our medical industry doing what they had to do in Italy, and that is literally pick and choose who lives and who dies, because there will not be the staff to take care of everybody who's sick. There will not be the equipment to take care of everybody who needs it. There will not be the medicine to help everybody who is going to need it. And it will be a pick and choose as to, oh, well, you've lived your life, so, well, we're gonna have to let you die, and we'll have to give a ventilator to somebody who's younger who may stand a chance. I don't want to see that happen, and not enough people are taking that seriously enough. I'm seeing way too many people who think they're somehow invincible or not going to be affected by this in some way. Or, well, they don't know anybody who's gotten sick or anything of that nature, so they think it's been blown out of proportion. Well, if you go back to letting things be normal, it's going to affect everybody. I have a cousin whom I haven't been in contact with or anywhere near because I am taking all the steps I can to restrict my mobility as somebody who is far more likely to catch this than people who do not work in the healthcare industry or in food service industry. that I am restricting myself a lot more than I'd like to. But I'm doing it to try to make sure that people are safe. In case I am somebody who is a asymptomatic carrier. The more people get back to normal, the more people things resume, the more people who are going to get sick. Like I was saying, I have a cousin who I haven't seen in months. She has been diagnosed with COVID-19. I am seeing posts every single day on Twitter of people saying their loved ones have died, or someone that they know has lost somebody because of this. That's only going to get worse if we are not taking serious precautions. Surrender to the divine. They are saying have hope. We will get through this. Yes, it will take time. We will have to see what they do with the vaccines. When the vaccines come out, what is going to happen there? I have a relative, extended family, who was a virologist at a very well-known university. I don't want to give too much information because, yeah. She has developed vaccines. She has worked on that kind of, in that field. These things do take time to develop. These things do take time to test for safety and efficacy. And even when they are tested, and even when they are shown to be effective, even when all of that comes to fruition, there are still outlying factors. There are still going to be people who may not be able to get the vaccine. There are still going to be people who won't get the vaccine because they're anti-vaxxers. So it's still not going to be 100%. Fiery climax approaches, see? I told you. That's the spike. It's time to release negativity. And one more. Step out of your comfort zone. That doesn't mean leave your house. That means suck it up and deal with it. Nobody's happy right now. Nobody's happy with what's going on in the world right now. No one. Yes, we're all afraid. Yes, we're all uncertain with what's going to come. But hold on to the thought that the actions you take today matter. One of my favorite things that I heard is everybody today has the chance to be a hero by staying home and taking precautions. Not everyone is doing that. So that means that those people who are being frickin' stupid are putting everyone who is taking those precautions more at risk. And if you are somebody who is giving people in grocery stores crap because you don't like the way that people are having to go one way in a store, and mind you, that's not the store's directive, that is the health department's directive, that is the governor's directive. Oh, I feel this one. if you're giving them crap, you really need to take a look at your own damn self. You really freaking do. Because you know what? People in these stores are getting sick. People who work at these stores putting their lives on the line to ensure people can get their freaking groceries are dying. They are getting sick. They are dying. Take your ego and your narcissism out of your ass. Get your head out of your ass. Suck it up. We're all in this, dealing with the same shit. They don't deserve your shit. No one does right now, especially not those on the front line who are trying their absolute best to ensure that we can survive in some way. This isn't a joke. This isn't a time to be bitchy little twats. This is a time to buckle up, cooperate, help one another, be good to one another, and work together. To my friends in Florida, I am so sorry. I am sorry that you're having to deal with this. And I know it's not just Florida. To anyone in any area where the government is putting money ahead of responsibility and precautions, I am sorry. Because they're doing so is literally signing people's death certificate. Yes, there is hope. Yes, people are becoming more consciously aware of things that are going on. Memories of Love I get is about grief, deception and envy. This is the politicians not doing their part. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. We just have to hang in there. There is going to be a triumphant success eventually. It's going to come with time. It's going to take people summoning their spiritual strength. There is going to be material and spiritual prosperity in the end of this. People are becoming a lot more awakened in this process. They're doing a lot of evaluation as to the things that are more important, as what is important versus what really isn't. And you're going to see a lot of shifting in perspective of a lot of people. And it's going to be a shift in awareness that's going to need to take place. Solitude. Heart chakra. Chakra healing. Discontent and boredom. Makes perfect sense with this. This was destined to happen. This was supposed to happen. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I'm not sure if I've said it on this channel or not. But the earth kept giving us warning signals. The earth kept telling us we needed to stop and shape up. And we didn't listen. Charm Foundation. Recognition reward is I don't know why I don't see this about the healthcare industry workers or the people on the front line. I get the feeling somebody in the political arena is going to get a lot of the credit in kudos. I don't know who it is, but somebody is going to. Sacral chakra again, chakra balancing, shadow work. We may see a vaccine that gets developed faster than what people are saying. Something is happening undercover from what we know and what we see. Sorry, I'm trying to get a sense of this. I get the feeling of like underground, hidden. I can see it, but I can't put my finger on it. But the truth is going to come to light. Patience and planning. Rest and rejuvenate. One more. Authority. Passion ignited. I get the feeling that more people who are in that field of expertise, if they've retired or whatnot, they're going to come in and help if they haven't started already. Again, chakra. Positive movement forward. One more. Movement, choices, decisions. Every choice we make makes a difference and has a cause and effect, whether it's positive or negative. I have more decks coming. I don't know when they're exactly arriving. And I'll explain why. They are decks that are different than what I've been using, primarily because most of my decks, if you haven't noticed, are more positively focused. And in order to balance things out, I purchased ones that focus more towards the shadow side in the hopes that we may get more information on these situations that I literally cannot get from the cards that I have. Some of the decks I ordered are currently coming from Amazon, and they said that they're not going to get here until May 10th. We'll see if that shifts. I have ordered decks from other sources as well, but 3 decks are pre-order, so I don't know when I'm going to get those. Then there's 1 deck that I'm getting from a source that I haven't bought from before, mainly because it was the only place that I could get this deck at a reasonable price. If you've seen on some channels the Doreen Virtue Yes or No Angels deck, when I went on to Amazon to purchase it, initially it was something like $14–15. But in the time it took for me to put that in my cart and when I got paid to purchase it, it went up to like $35. So I went through and I searched. I did find another source where I was actually able to purchase it at the correct price. I guess it's a deck that isn't as readily found anymore. But I'm waiting for that one. I'm waiting for a few other decks. So in the meantime, I will, beyond today, mainly focus on picker cards or more positive readings until I get those, so I can delve more into the things that I see but I can't really grasp and bring to the foreground because of the types of decks that I have. So I ask your patience with that. I ask your I thank you for your patience. I thank you for your continued support. And I'm going to give it my best shot, and I'm going to try my best. Because I can see that there's things that I can't. It's like looking through a mist. You can see that there's stuff on the other side of the mist, but you can't completely make it out. It's the best way I can put it. I know some readers will take that as, well, that means it's not meant to come to the surface, but I don't get that feeling from it. I get the feeling like it's supposed to, it's just that I can't grab it because of the specific mediums that I have right now. And I'm just not adept enough with tarot cards in order to be able to discern it through that medium yet. So I'm sorry if this may not have given you all the news that you wanted to, and I thank you if you've watched and listened this far. I'm doing my best to try to get a grip on what's going on in the world, and it's just not easy right now for many reasons. But before I close out, I want to leave us with some positive things, because I don't like closing out with all negative stuff. Let's see. Grounded. Keep your roots and stand taller than the trees. Friends. The most unlikely friendships can form like variegated lichens on hard rock. They create a tight bond. Joy. Spread seeds of joy like a wildflower, and no doubt you will revel in the result. Help one another. Be there for one another. Be kind to each other. People's nerves are shot right now. I know personally I've been doing my best to avoid like drama stuff because it's too much. It's too much right now. So if you need to focus on more positive things, try to separate, pay attention to yourself, and if something doesn't make you feel good right now, put it to the side. It'll be there when things are better. You can always look at it later. Focus on the things that are going to help facilitate you getting through this and helping your mental health versus hurting it. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry, this was kind of like a mixed bag kind of night, but I just needed to unload. I've been sitting downstairs all day trying to figure out what I was going to record today, and I just wasn't into it. And as I was sitting there, I'm like, why am I not into recording today? Because usually it's one of my favorite things to do. And the more I sat there, I'm like, I have so much on my chest that I just need to get off. And there's only one way I'm going to be able to do that, and that's for me to just do it. So again, thank you. Thank you for your patience. Tomorrow I will try to do something else. And please stay safe. Be healthy. I'm sending all of you love, protection, healing, prosperity, kindness, and the biggest of spiritual hugs I can possibly do. And until next time, I wish you the brightest of blessings, and blessed be.